In this video, I'm going to show you how to add the remaining forms, the standard forms, to the model. I showed you when you added the start task that you could drag and drop it onto the existing connector to establish automatic connections. Because this model has multiple swim lanes and some level of complexity in its routing, we will manually add the connectors using the connector option in the corner of the shape later in this series. For now, I'm going to delete the connector to the right of Submit Help Desk Ticket. Next, scroll down and we will add our first standard task. Drag a standard task into the Tier 1 swim lane. The standard task configuration window opens automatically. Click Add New Form. The form name will be Tier 1 Support. Click Next. Click Existing Form. We will use a copy of the original form to simplify configuration. Click Next. Click Help Desk Ticket, then click Finish. We're going to make Issue Description Not Required and Read Only. Hover over Issue Description, then click on Edit Properties. Click the Configure tab and uncheck Mandatory, then click Behavior and click Read Only. Close Field Settings by clicking the X in the upper right-hand corner. Next, we're going to add sections. Click the Sections option on the toolbar. Section 1, which is our original form, we're going to label Support Request. We're also going to add a new section called Service History. Type the name into the section and click Add. Now click OK. Click on Service History. Click on Common Controls, and we're going to add a drop-down list control in the first column. The label will be Tier 1 Action. Next, click on Configure. We're going to use an inline list, and the entry is mandatory. Click on Mandatory. Click on Add Option. The first option for Tier 1 is to resolve the issue. Click Add Option, then scroll down to enter the name and value. The name and value will be assigned Tier 2. Close Field Settings. Next, we'll add a text area to the center column. The label will be Tier 1 Comments. Close Field Settings. Hover over the right edge of the control and drag it to fill the right two columns. Then click on Adjust Width and make it span the entire width. Next, we'll add a text area below the Tier 1 action. The label will be Resolution. Close Field Settings. Hover over the right edge and drag it across all three columns, and then adjust the width. Now we need to apply a business rule. If the Tier 1 action is to resolve the issue, we need to document the resolution. If Tier 1's action is to assign it to Tier 2, they need to provide comments about their findings. To ensure this practice is enforced, we will apply a rule to Tier 1 action. Drag Tier 1 action into the win. When Tier 1 action is equal to resolve, then set as mandatory as the action we want to take, and the field that we want to set as mandatory for resolve is resolution. We're going to add another rule. When Tier 1 action is equal to assign Tier 2, we're going to set as mandatory Tier 1 comments. Click OK. We have completed the configuration for our Tier 1 support form. Let's test it to ensure it works as expected. Click on Preview in PC Browser. We can see that all of the original fields on the first section are read-only. We can either click Next or Service History to preview the second section. We can see that the field is mandatory, and if I try to submit it without providing a mandatory entry, I do get a warning. Next, I want to check the rules that we've configured for Tier 1 action. Click Resolve, and I can see that resolution is now required. Click on Assign Tier 2, and I can now see that resolution is no longer required, but Tier 1 comments is required. So it's working as designed. Close Preview Mode. We'll save the form, clear the success message, and return to the Application Builder to configure the activity. Click Next. The name is Tier 1 Support. Click Next. We're going to assign this step to Tier 1 group. Drag and drop Tier 1 into the Details under Participants. Click Finish. I'm going to hold off on aligning the shapes until we're ready to connect them. We will basically repeat the steps from Tier 1 for Tier 2, Tier 3, and the Help Desk Manager. Drag a standard task into Tier 2. Click Add New Form. The name of the form will be Tier 2 Support. Click Next. Choose Existing Form. Click Next. Choose Tier 1 Support. Click Finish. We won't need to make any changes to the support requests. Click on Service History. We're going to go to Tier 1, click Edit, go to Configure, remove the mandatory requirement, click on Behavior, and uncheck Enabled. This makes it read-only. Close Field Settings. Next, we will remove the rules associated with Tier 1 action. Another way to configure common properties for forms is through Bulk Edit. I can click on Bulk Edit and make Tier 1 comments read-only. Now I need to add a Tier 2 action and Tier 2 comments. Click on Common Controls, drag a drop-down list control between resolution, and you'll see it adds a new row. This will be Tier 2 action. Click on Configure, click Mandatory. The inline list configuration will be essentially the same as it was for Tier 1. Click Add Option. The first option, name and value, is Resolve. Then click Add Option, scroll down, and enter Assign Tier 3. Close Field Settings. Next, drag a text area control into the middle column. This will be Tier 2 comments. Close Field Settings. Hover over the right edge of the Tier 2 comments and drag it across the 2 remaining columns. Then click on Adjust Width and drag it till it fills the full control. Next, we'll add the rules for Tier 2 action. Drag Tier 2 action into the when. When Tier 2 action is equal to Resolve, we need to set as mandatory the resolution. We'll add a new rule. When Tier 2 action is equal to Assign Tier 3, set as mandatory Tier 2 comments, and click OK. Now that the configuration for Tier 2 support is complete, we will preview it. When I select Resolve as the action, resolution becomes mandatory, and when I choose Assign Tier 3, Tier 2 comments become mandatory. The form is performing as expected, so we'll close it, save it, clear the success message, and return to the application builder to complete the configuration for this activity. Click Next. The display name is Tier 2 Support. Then click Next. We will drag the group Tier 2 under the Details for Participants and click Finish. I'll scroll down. We'll drag a standard task into Tier 3. Click Add New Form. This is Tier 3 Support. Click Next. Click Existing Form. Click Next. Choose Tier 2 Support. Click Finish. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm building on the previous form's design with a new copy that I can configure for the current step. Again, there's no change to the support request. We'll go over to Service History. I'm going to edit Tier 2 action. I'm going to go to the Configure tab and uncheck Mandatory, and I'm going to go to the Behavior tab and uncheck Enabled. Close Field Settings. Next, I'm going to remove the rule from Tier 2 actions. Hover over the control and click Rules. We'll remove the rules and click OK. And then I'm going to make Tier 2 comments read-only. Click Edit, Behavior, and select Read-only. Then close Field Settings. Next, I need to add the controls for Tier 3. We'll click on Controls, drag a drop-down list between Resolution and Tier 2 action. This will be Tier 3 action. Click on Configure, mark it as mandatory, add an option for Resolve, then add another option, scroll down, and this will be Assign Manager. Close Field Settings. Drag a text area into the middle column. This will be Tier 3 comments. Close Field Settings. Hover over the right edge of the control and drag it so that it spans both columns. Adjust the width so that it fills the entire space. Hover over Tier 3 actions and configure the rule. Tier 3 action is equal to Resolve, set as mandatory, Resolution. Add another rule. Tier 3 action is equal to Assign Manager, set as mandatory, Tier 3 comments. Then click OK. Now that we've completed our configuration, again, we'll preview the form and make sure it's working as designed. Everything is read-only in the support request. Tier 1 and Tier 2 fields are read-only. Tier 3 is editable and required. If I choose Resolve, Resolution becomes mandatory. If I choose Assign Manager, Tier 3 comments become mandatory. We'll close Preview and save the form. Clear the success message and return to Application Builder. Click Next. The display name is Tier 3 Support. Click Next. We'll use the Tier 3 group for the participant. Drag Tier 3 under Details for the participant and click Finish. Put a standard task in the Help Desk Manager swim lane. Click Add New Form. The name of the form is Help Desk Manager Support. Click Next. Click Existing Form. Click Next. Choose Tier 3 Support. Click Finish. Again, no changes are required for support requests. Click Service History. We'll scroll down and update Tier 3 action. Click Edit, go to Configure, uncheck Mandatory, go to Behavior and uncheck Enabled. Close Field Settings, then remove the rule associated with the control. And click OK. Next, go to Tier 3 Comments, click on Edit, go to Behavior, and click Read Only. Close Field Settings and scroll down. Next, we'll add the controls for the manager. Click Common Controls, go to the drop-down list and drag it above Resolution. The label will be Manager Action. Click Configure, check Mandatory, click Add Option, type Resolve. Click Add Option, scroll down and type Close Ticket. Close Field Settings. Drag a text area to the right of Manager Action. The label will be Manager Comments. Close Field Settings, hover over the right edge and drag it to the right to span both columns. Click the Adjust Width and drag it to the right to fill the entire space. Hover over Manager and click Rules. Add a rule for Manager Action is equal to Resolve, set as Mandatory, Resolution. Add a new rule, Manager Action is equal to Close Ticket, set as Mandatory, and choose Manager Comments. Click OK. Go up to Preview, click on Service History. Tier 1, 2, and 3 fields are read-only. Manager fields are editable. If I select Resolve, Resolution becomes mandatory. If I select Close Ticket, Manager Comments becomes mandatory. We'll close Preview and save the form. Clear the success message and return to the Application Builder to complete the configuration. Click Next. The display name is Help Desk Manager Support. Click Next. The Help Desk Manager was configured as a role. Hit the drop-down and choose Roles, then drag Help Desk Manager into the details under the participant, and click Finish. The last remaining task in the Help Desk process belongs to the requester to provide feedback. Drag a standard task to the right in the requester swim lane. Click Add New Form. The name of the form is Feedback. Click Next. Click Existing Form. Click Next. In this case, we want the original Help Desk ticket. Click Finish. This form will be configured as a single section. Hover over Issue Description, click on Edit Control, go to Behavior, and choose Read Only. Then close Field Settings. Next, we'll add one of the controls from the control library so the user can see the resolution that was provided for their support issue. Drag Resolution onto the form below Issue Description. Click on Behavior and mark it Read Only, then close Field Settings. You can collapse My Control Library. Next, hover over the right edge of the control and drag it across all 3 columns. Now scroll down. Click Common Controls, scroll down, and drag a horizontal line. Close Field Settings, hover over the right edge and drag it to the right to span all 3 columns. This horizontal line will provide separation between the previous data entered on the form and the feedback that we're asking them to provide. Drag a drop-down list control into the first column. The label will be Accept Resolution. Click Configure, check Mandatory. We'll add an option for Yes, and we'll add an option and scroll down and set it to No. Close Field Settings. Drag a text area to the center column. The label will be User Comments. Close Field Settings. Hover over the right edge and drag it till it spans both columns. Click on Adjust Width and allow it to span the entire space. Then we'll add a rule to accept resolution. If Accept Resolution is equal to No, then we'll set as mandatory User Comments. Then click OK. Again, we'll preview the form. The initial fields are all read-only or disabled. And if I choose Yes, User Comments are optional. But if I choose No, User Comments become mandatory. Close Preview, save the form, clear the success message, and return to the Application Builder to complete the configuration for the activity. Click Next. The display name is Provide Feedback. Click Next. The participant for this task is the requester, the person submitting the new Help Desk ticket. That's also the process initiator, the person who started this process. To configure it, we click on Process Data, System Data, and drag the process initiator into the details for the participant. Then click Finish. This completes the configuration of all of the standard tasks in our Help Desk process and the content for this video.